gotta get used to this fancy camera in this new studio, S.A.
Right.
Happy Friday! S.A.'s in the building, Mike T's in the building, Woody's in the building.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, how are we?
I'm doing wonderful. It's good to see you.
Thank you,
I
friend.
see
You as
you
well.
before it was the white and then the green and now the black. All right.
Yeah.
I gotta keep up.
What's up, baby?
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, we in the house.
No,
I'm in
Friday.
preseason mode. I'm in
It's good for
preseason
Friday.
mode.
It's good for Friday.
Okay.
It's good for Mr. CIA. What's up, baby?
Not
You good?
CIA.
You good? All right. I'm here in the house for y'all.
All right, you good, Mike T?
Let's roll.
All right, so preseason, you know what, Woody? I like that you brought that up because we got some things to get into, and we start our conversation today on First Take with Aaron Rodgers, y'all. He will officially not play in the Steelers' second preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A decision is still up in the air regarding him playing in the final preseason game. But with that great defense, the defense that is signature to who the Steelers have been, we've got that defense backing up the offense. Head coach Mike Tomlin has high hopes for what the new look Steel Curtain defense can be this season.
We feel really good about the prospects of this group. We do. We got to write that story, but we got enough talent. We got enough schematics to do big things. And when I say big things, I'm talking about historic things.
Historic things. All right, so D-Will, we're coming to you first. Is this Pittsburgh defense, is this going to be enough to make this group a playoff team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, with Mike Tomlin, over the years, the defense has always carried them into the postseason. I think the question that when we talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers over the years is the quarterback position. We saw last year coming down the stretch, the reason that the defense actually wore down is because the offense couldn't do anything. The defense were playing a lot more than they really should have on the field. And so when I look at this defense, they have all the requisite pieces that you need to go out here and be a really good defense. They got pass rushers. They're stout, as far as rush, against rushing teams. They got guys that can cover. I think the biggest question mark is the quarterback. Can the quarterback go out there and operate this offense? Can they score enough points to keep this defense fresh? But as far as is the defense good enough to get them to the postseason? Yes, because Mike Tomlin has never missed the postseason.
Now, that's a fact. But Mike T, I see you over there, notes, you got your pen tap. You disagree?
Absolutely. In the AFC, in this day and age, guys, you have to score points. And when we think about Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, even the Chargers, you have to be a point scorer to get into the postseason. And I believe in Mike T like anybody else. He's a Hall of Famer. They have 4 starters on defense over the age of 30. So Cam Hayward, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slade, and TJ Watt. Mm-hmm. And at some point, they could wear down. But more fundamentally, their quarterback's going to be 42. So Stephen A., I think, even though their defense can be really good, with a young offensive line, a quarterback that wasn't in the offseason program, who's not playing in the preseason, they're going to have to score. And to me, I worry about that. Not that he's not going to know what to do, but those young offensive linemen. So to me, it's a massive question mark. Even with a good defense, they make the postseason.
Well, the interesting part is that the specificity of editorial content. I mean, it would be me. That would be my lane. You see what I'm saying? Playing is your lane. Being an executive is your lane. The editorial content would be mine. The specificity of it all, right? The reason I bring that up is because the question is to make the playoffs, not to win a playoff game.
Right.
See, to win a playoff game, that's a different animal. That's where what you said comes right into play, Mr. CIA. When it comes to making the playoffs, that's something that they found a way to do religiously. Somehow, some way, inexplicably, even against all odds, Mike Tomlin finds a way to make them relevant enough to get to the postseason. They weren't supposed to make it last year, but lo and behold, they ended up doing so because Cincinnati forgets to play the game of football, from January to mid-September, because they always start up. They're 1-11 in the first 2 games of the year over the last 6 years, which is pathetic, which calls for an investigation into Zach Taylor and his coaching staff. What the hell are you doing that y'all can't win games in the first 2 weeks of a season? That's just putrid, okay? We get that part. However, you're absolutely right when you talk about the potency of the offense, particularly in Cincinnati, and then Baltimore being probably the favorites to come out of the AFC in terms of their talent across the board. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're going to have to do more than having an elite defense in order to win a playoff game. But to make the playoffs, even though it's a bit compelling, I'm looking at you. You kept TJ Watt. You still got Patrick Queen in the crew. I mean, like you said, they can cover. You drafted a defensive end in Harmon to come at, first round, 25th pick. What are you doing with him? He's going to be starting for you. So I'm looking at them and I'm saying I don't expect their defense to dip. I expect their defense to elevate. And if your defense elevates within the AFC and you got a quarterback that doesn't really turn the ball over, which is what Aaron Rodgers is not known to do for the most part, I'm going to take those things into consideration. I'm going to say, yeah, that's enough to get them to the playoffs. Okay. But are you going to win a playoff game?
Monica,
that's the question.
Can I change lanes? Can I put my turn signal on and change lanes and jump into Stephen A?
Okay, I just want to make one clarification before you do that, though, Mike T. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season.
Yes.
He has missed the playoffs 6 times, though.
Yes.
Right, and I'm going to use some editorial data on this one, which is in the history of pro football, which is 100 years of data, there's been 2 quarterbacks to start a playoff game age 42 or older. Tom Brady, let's just throw him out, and Drew Brees started 1 game. So for Aaron Rodgers to do that, guys, that's an overwhelming amount of data and history to say at some point he will probably break down. And let's face it, like, are we sitting here, the 4 of us, confident that Mason Rudolph is going to lead?
Hell to no.
Right.
Hell
exactly.
to no.
Right. So what information do we have in the last 4 or 5 years that Aaron Rodgers is going to play in 17 games?
That's the wrong question. What information do we have that the Steelers can overcome the odds under the stewardship of Mike Tomlin? That's the question. You can bring up Aaron Rodgers all you want to. Aaron Rodgers, to me, ain't going to be worse than Russell Wilson. He ain't going to be worse than Justin Fields. He ain't going to be worse than Mason Rudolph. He ain't going to be worse than Mitchell Trubisky. He ain't going to be worse than his quarterback. He ain't going to be worse than Ben Roethlisberger was in the last year or 2 of his time in Pittsburgh, who's a future Hall of Famer. We love and appreciate Big Ben Roethlisberger, but damn, he stayed too long. The bottom line is that over the last 6 or 7 years, we've had nothing to brag about in Pittsburgh from the quarterback position. As far as I'm concerned, Aaron Rodgers is playing with house money. House money. I mean, listen, if he went out, as bad as 48 QBR last year, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, about 3,800 yards passing, if he did that for the Steelers, we'd be happy. Compared to what we've been dealing with, hell yeah.
Here's the thing. Like, you got to understand, there's a difference between what the New York Jets asked of Aaron Rodgers.
All right, Steelers Nation, buckle up because this one is about our defense, Aaron Rodgers, and Mike Tomlin's bold prediction for 2025. And let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack here. First off, big news coming out of training camp. Rodgers will not play in the second preseason game against the Buccaneers. In fact, his status for the final preseason game is still up in the air. So if you've been waiting to see him sling the ball in black and gold for the first time, you might have to wait until week 1 of the regular season. Now, Mike Tomlin has made it crystal clear. This year's defense has the potential to do something historic. And knowing Tomlin, he's not throwing that word around lightly. He's looking at a loaded unit. TJ Watt, Patrick Queen, Jalen Ramsey, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, Darius Slay, and a first-round rookie in DeAndre Harmon who's expected to make an immediate impact. But here's the debate. Is this defense alone enough to carry Pittsburgh to the playoffs? On one side, you've got people saying absolutely yes, because historically, when Tomlin has a defense this good, they find a way in. Last year's squad made the postseason despite having one of the worst quarterback situations in the league. This year, they've replaced that carousel with Aaron Rodgers, who even at 42 isn't going to be worse than what we've had since Big Ben's decline. And let's be honest, a Rodgers stat line of 28 touchdowns, 11 picks, and 3,800 yards, like he posted just a couple years ago, would have Steelers Nation throwing a parade compared to what we've endured. On the other side, some are pumping the brakes. The AFC is a gauntlet. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Buffalo, all teams that can light up the scoreboard. In today's NFL, you can't just have a great defense. You have to score points. And with Rodgers missing the offseason program, sitting out preseason games, and working behind a young offensive line, there are fair questions about timing, chemistry, and durability. Let's not ignore the numbers. In the 100-plus year history of the NFL, only 2 quarterbacks have started a playoff game at age 42 or older, Tom Brady and Drew Brees. And we all know Rodgers has had injury issues. That's why some analysts say it's a matter of when, not if, we see the backup QB. And spoiler alert, nobody in Pittsburgh wants to be talking about Mason Rudolph in December. But here's where I stand. The Steelers don't need Rodgers to be the savior the Jets wanted. They don't need him to throw 40 touchdowns or be MVP Aaron Rodgers. They just need him to protect the football, hit big throws when they matter, and keep the offense moving enough so this defense can stay fresh. Tomlin's formula has always been simple. Win ugly if you have to, but win. And let's not forget, the AFC North might be stacked, but this team thrives as the underdog. Every year, the experts write them off, and every year they find themselves in the mix. You add Rodgers to that, plus a defense with Watt and Ramsey hunting quarterbacks, and you can see why Tomlin's talking about making history. The real question for me isn't if this team can make the playoffs. I think they can. It's what happens when they get there. Because making it is one thing, winning in January is another, and the Steelers haven't done that in 9 years. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think this historic defense plus Aaron Rodgers is enough to get us back to the postseason? Or are the AFC's elite offenses going to make it a long, frustrating year in Pittsburgh? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button if you believe in the Steel Curtain 2.0, and subscribe to Steelers Nation Wire so you don't miss a single update as we march toward Week 1. Because if Tomlin's right, we're not just talking about a playoff run, we might be talking about history.